How to keep Buddhist precepts. The central theme to letting go of stress is a foundation of harmlessness and virtue. There are 5, 8, and 10 precepts to try, which are a good all-rounder to achieving the goal of letting go of stress. You can try it just once, a few days, or a whole lifetime, but it's something that brings a lot of benefit, as it's simply a way to avoid doing things that bring regret and grief. Steps 1. Consider the first 5 precepts below, then compare them to the next group and consider the differences and apply the group you see fit best to your lifestyle and goals. You might find that they are put in ways relevant from ordinary people up to more committed Buddhists. Consider the extremes of each one. Buddhism is a middle path focus, recommending to avoid extremes as they don't lead to a peaceful life. The first extreme is becoming obsessed by the rules or fretting over them. It's impossible, as per the first precept below, to walk around without squashing microbes, insects that you don't see underground, etc. It's all about intention, not to kill, so if you find a spider inside, the option would always be to leave it alone, or gently scoop it in a glass and let it go outside. The other extreme is trying to force or belittle other people who don't follow these rules. There is a great danger, particularly on volatile subjects such as sectarianism, vegetarianism, etc., for people to start aggressively pushing their views and essentially trying to get the other person to surrender their own, which is to the detriment of both people. It should be asked whether this is really what Buddhism and the path of letting go of stress is all about. Do what is skillful and abandon what is unskillful is perhaps the best guideline of all. 2. Consider the value of having precepts. The reason is, virtue or goodness is the key foundation behind the Noble Eightfold Path. When you consider virtue, sila, mental development and training, samadhi, and wisdom, panna or prajna, virtue underlines them all. Without virtue, the mind will not settle or be flexible enough to work with to develop the mind. Without virtue, wisdom cannot be practiced or developed. The flip side is wisdom is needed to be naturally virtuous, and mental development is needed to train the mind to not run off into unskillful actions. The balancing ended reason is that virtue promotes well-being, as we are safer and feel safer with ourselves and others. Virtue is the starting block, as letting go of harmful intentions is itself virtue, mental skills and wisdom. 1. Refrain from killing and taking life. The first part is easy enough to look at, but the second part refers to kidnapping, imprisonment, etc. For this precept, the goal here is simply to avoid harming anything. Think about this. The important thing to be aware of is choice. You have the ability to both kill it, do nothing, or let it go. Killing is really surprisingly easy, but not killing it means you have care and respect not only for the life of another but for yourself. You have to be aware of your intentions and let go of the ones that will cause you and others harm. 2. Refrain from taking what is not given. Not stealing is the first meaning, but also there are other aspects, such as not taking advantage of other people, or manipulating people to get something, etc. Here there is something of a caveat. Traditionally, thrown away items or cast-offs are allowed to be recycled, so intention again. If you know it's stealing or that it might belong to someone, simply refrain from taking it without asking. 3. Refrain from sexual misconduct. This covers the obvious things like rape or any form of abuse, but also as any indulgent activity. It also covers looking for a relationship with those who are protected by their family, partner, religion or government, and using sex or gender as a way to manipulate people. All are seen as misconduct. In the first 5 precepts, it technically does not mean absolute celibacy, even though you can be celibate if you want. See the 8 precepts. It means that basically don't do anything that you would regret now or later, or do any actions that may cause others to regret knowing you. It is always best to discuss this with a learned person if you want an opinion in relation to the tradition you follow. 4. Refrain from false speech. This is about refraining from lying and even white lies. It's also expanded further to not giving biased or false information. This is where it gets difficult if you are in a position where you lie by omission or tell white lies to protect someone, such as so and so is in a meeting at the moment and can't take your call. You should consider ways to rephrase the message without being deceptive, such as simply offering to take a message to pass on instead. The simplest solution is if you want to say something but know it doesn't have any benefit or it's not the right time or place, then try to find a time when it is appropriate to say it or be discreet. 5. Refrain from intoxicants. Essentially, this is anything that essentially makes you heedless or reckless. Simple examples are alcohol, drugs, etc., but anything else that makes you lose control. You can be the judge of this, of how much is too much, but there are times going teetotal or detox is good for your health. There is apparently some argument to if this covers caffeine, but again you have the choice to have none. A harmless amount. Illegal drugs aren't likely to fit in this, however, or too much where you can do something you'll regret. You are your own criminal, judge and executioner. As alcohol is not always fully cooked out in food, such as adding wine to sauces, it is still seen as containing alcohol. It is wise to refrain from these foods as well. 6. Consider now how and where you can apply these precepts. Remember that these are the 5 and are considered to be the basic starter kit for avoiding things you'll regret. There is also a lot to be gained from this, that you had the strength to do the right thing and know that you avoided doing something you'll be ashamed of at some stage.